Hello, this is Chaplain Paul, and I'm making yet another video for my elected officials. Uh, well, first of all, thank you for your service. Thank you for making an effort to reduce suffering in our state and country. Uh, thank you for making an effort. Uh, this video uh, touches on areas that I've been discussing for years now. Uh, that's sunny back there. Okay. All right, so here's what the deal is. Um, During COVID, millions of patients died a horrible death in isolation, denied their constitutional right under the Ninth Amendment to be treated humanely, denied their civil rights under the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to be treated humanely, denied their patients' rights here under their patients' rights under Title 36 here in Arizona, the healthcare regulations, denied their human rights under the Nuremberg Code, which is an international code of ethics that was created after World War II because the Nazis experimented on people. Horrible, horrible uh, crimes against humanity happened. So they created a code of ethics that all nations are to adhere to. Part of that code of ethics is people are not to be coerced into taking the vax. People are not to be receiving that against their will or against their knowledge or without prior consent. This is what happened during COVID. Millions were uh, given that against their will, without their knowledge, without their consent. Okay, uh, and so that was a violation of the Nuremberg Code. All right, so many patients that I love died all alone in isolation. Many patients that I've died, many patients that I've loved dearly, including family members, have died because of neglect, abuse, and mistreatment as a direct result of neglect, abuse, and mistreatment. Our elected officials owe the widows who lost loved ones because their rights were being trampled on, violated, ignored, need to apologize not only to the widows of those people that died, they need to apologize to the citizens of our state, and they need to apologize to the American people for not doing more to defend our rights. You took an oath to defend our constitutional rights, and that didn't happen. Very few had the courage to speak out or protest or file a lawsuit or do anything. You just went right along with it because the government said so. Well, we live in a nation where there is great evil in the government, and they push the envelope and they try to take advantage of us. And if we don't have the backbone or the courage to say, no, this is not right, this is against our civil rights, our patients' rights, our human rights, and it's against the Nuremberg Code of international ethics, it's against all that. So, no, you can't lock patients away in isolation for over a year without any visits by family or clergy. Without visits by family and clergy, who's going to protect the patients from abuse, neglect, and mistreatment? Who's going to be in that room to make sure they're cared for properly? Who's going to be in that room to make sure their medical wishes are being honored? Who's going to be in that room to help to change them or help to provide needs that the staff is too busy to do? Who's going to be in their room when they fall out of bed or start choking or throwing up and the staff is way down the hall? Who's going to be in the room to catch that early enough to prevent serious bodily injury or death? Who? You know who? Nobody. Because everybody assumed that, oh, it's for the best interest of the patient to put them in isolation so they don't get COVID. Problem is, who's protecting them from the patient and from who's protecting them from staff and from other patients? Who's protecting them from abuse, mistreatment, and neglect when you put a patient in isolation and deny the very protection that they need, and the love and the compassion and the encouragement they need in order to have a fighting chance for survival? It was removed, and many patients died. Millions died all alone in isolation because the only method of treatment when those patients started freaking out, dealing with depression, anxiety, worry, doubt, fear, okay, suicidal thoughts, was with psych meds and antidepressants. And so they were drugged, okay, to oblivion, all right? And where was our elected officials? They were nowhere, absolutely nowhere. Nobody was talking about it. Nobody was saying, hey, this ain't right, okay? This ain't right. We have a pandemic, but how do we accommodate where the patients could get a family member in there, or some support, anybody that wants to be in there by their side to protect them and love them and take care of them? How do we accommodate that? Here's how. You, instead of 5 people or 3 family members, have one. Okay, one comes in by appointment. You don't stay 8 hours. You cut it down to 3. Okay, if you don't do it every day, you do it every other day. You don't just strip that hope away from the patients and the family members and have the family members sit at home and have the patients sit there and suffer and die the way they did. Nazis, okay? Nazis. That's what Nazis do. That's what people in, uh, you know, what do you call it? People that are in totalitarian nations. That's what they do. We don't do that in America. We make sure that people's rights are protected and that they have loved ones around them when they're sick and dying and suffering. Okay? So here's the deal. All right? Fess up, have a press conference or whatever you got to do, but come out publicly and apologize because that's the right thing to do. You dropped the ball, you dropped the ball, and now you just want to pretend that everything is hunky dory and it's okay. You know what? My friend Al, whose wife died all alone in the facility, he was unable to be by her side. He didn't get the call that she was sick. He got the call that she was dead. How would you feel if that were you? That your husband or wife or children or grandchildren or mother or father were left all alone to fend for themselves in an American healthcare facility, and then you get the call, not that she's sick, but that she died. I don't think that would fly very well. I think many of our elected officials would have a press cut, be so outraged they'd be on the Senate and House floor demanding justice. There's been no justice for Al. There's been no justice for Janelle. There's been no justice for dozens, millions of families that lost loved ones because of neglect, abuse, and mistreatment and isolation. There's been no justice. So, what are we going to do from here? Well, an apology's in order. Okay, you let millions down, including the loved ones of the patients that I love dearly. Okay, for that matter, you let me down. All right. I was the one every single day fighting to reopen them doors. I was the one trying to figure out how to sneak family members into the facility. At one point, we thought, well, if we get a cherry picker and we have it go up to the second floor, at least she could see her husband. Okay. Yes, they have devices that you could put in the room like Alexa visual app. And yes, there's, Zoom on your phone where you could still see the people. But a lot of the patients that I visit, they're coma, semi-coma, they're paralyzed. They can't do that. So those patients did without. And then you had my friend Greg, who I love dearly, died all alone in isolation. All right. Many, many others, okay, died all alone in isolation. The next time you're sick in the bed, I want you to, here's what you do. Next time you're sick in the bed and you feel miserable, go buy some Depend diapers, all right, at the store, crap in them. Okay, wait all night long to be changed, and then have a rude SOB come in and change you. All right, while you're sick and suffering. Not only that, have nobody's hand to hold, have no comforts at all, no love at all. Okay, have staff come in and do their thing, and talk to you like everything's hunky dory, but not have the comfort and love and kindness and compassion and support we all need to have a fighting chance for survival. Try them apples sometime and see how you like it. It's not right. You know it's not right, and it needs to be addressed, and it needs to never happen again, ever. Okay? You weren't elected to allow these atrocities to happen without some type of accountability, without even acknowledging it. If we don't acknowledge this atrocity and call it for what it is, an absolute disgrace and atrocity, then it opens the door for even a worse atrocity next time. Because the evil that is running the show, they're going to say, well, we got away with this, so let's try even a bigger problem next time, where it bring more misery to millions of people. Let's see if we could get away with that. I'm telling you right now, okay? Uh, if this doesn't get addressed, fixed, and get a handle on, then we don't have any rights in America. We do not have any rights in American healthcare if you have no family, and even if you do. Thank God that Representative Wynn, he crafted two pieces of legislation that I strongly supported. I testified for one, House Bill 2575, that allows all non-staff members of clergy into these facilities, even if there's a statewide or national pandemic or emergency. And then he crafted another bill, I'm not too sure of the numbers, that allows at least one healthy screened family member by the patient's side. So that could never happen again in Arizona. But I was told when I did the research on it, I said, okay, we have this law, and what if there's another pandemic and they refuse to accommodate? Well, I was told theoretically that the healthcare facility can literally override that law under certain circumstances. Because here's why. How are you going to enforce it? I called the sheriff's department. I said, what if there's another pandemic? We have this law. I got it in my hand, and they refuse to allow visits by patients. What mechanism do we have to make sure that that law is enforced? And according to what the sheriff's department told me, is that they have to adhere to the healthcare facility for the safety and well-being of the people of our state. So this is a problem. We have public officials, the legislature, craft laws that are supposed to be adhered to, but then come to find out, well, under certain circumstances, healthcare can override that. You know, who's going to enforce the law next time? Who's going to speak out publicly next time? Who's going to protest next time? Who's going to file lawsuits next time? Who's going to put their job, their career, their well-being and safety on the line and resources on the line to defend our constitutional rights, our civil rights, our human rights, and our rights that are basically under the Nuremberg Code of international ethics? Who's going to step up and do that? Very few have the courage to do it. Very, very few. Because they don't want to risk jail time. They don't want to risk personal injury. They don't want to risk imprisonment. They don't want to risk chastisement or rejection or censorship. They don't want to risk it. They don't want to risk anything. You know? And then you got people like me that place service above self and reaching out and helping others for the glory of God. I'm not doing this to get my jollies. I'm not doing this because I want to get my name in the paper or in the media. I'm not doing this because I'm planning on running for office in the future and I'm trying to build up my brownie buttons. I'm doing this because I love the patients and family members in these facilities that are going through a living hell. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. Martin Luther King, who I admire and respect, he wasn't perfect, but either am I and either are you. Okay? So here's what the deal is. He said, a man dies when he doesn't step up, when he doesn't, a man dies when he doesn't stand up for what's right. A man dies when he doesn't stand up for justice. A man dies when he doesn't stand up for truth. And that's a fact. We die on the inside. Uh, and he also said that, yes, when you do that, you risk personal injury, jail time, imprisonment, and even death. You risk great loss. You risk being ridiculed, censored, rejected, injured. Uh, and he said, it's better to go through life with a scarred up body than go through life with a scarred up soul because I did very little or nothing to stand up for what's right, for stand up for truth and justice. This is what he says. So are we going to follow what he says, or are we just going to throw it in the gutter and say, "Wow, that was then, and that's archaic, and we do what we want now"? We just look the other way and pretend it won't happen again. You know, when atrocities happen that are not dealt with, that are ignored, it just opens the door for worse atrocities in the future. If if world history has taught us anything, to allow injustice is to invite horrors. Period. So I invite you to go to these facilities. I invite you to have town hall meetings, long-term care town hall meetings. I invite you to begin a dialogue that's going to address these issues. No patient should have to wait more than 20 minutes to be cared for and changed. No patient. Otherwise, it's inhumane, it's wrong, and it needs to be corrected. All right. And there's a mountain of other things that need to be addressed. Um, but, you know, like changing the statute back. All right, long-term care patients are no longer long-term care lawsuits are no longer being awarded attorney's fees. You take the attorney's fees out of the equation, and no, they're not going to take the case for basic neglect, abuse, and mistreatment. If they don't take the case, it's a free for all, and many other issues. There's no chaplains in these facilities. They're required in hospitals and prisons, but not in long-term care facilities, nursing homes, care centers, medical rehabs. They're not required. Well, take that law that says hospitals and prisons and just add long-term care. Take the law that exists and just add long-term care. All right, and again, I appreciate your efforts, and look forward to speaking to you soon. And remember, Jesus loves you, so do I. Have a blessed day.